Hey everyone, I'm going to show you two things in this video. The first thing that I want to show you is how to maintain the drum switch contacts inside of your control box of your Wood-Mizer. The second thing is a little bit more obscure, and that has to do with replacing a fuel shutoff solenoid for the diesel engine. If you want to see these two things, please go ahead and watch, and please check out my other videos that I have on YouTube of all things sawmilling and woodworking related. On your Wood-Mizer, you're going to have an operating panel that looks like this. You're going to have 8 screws that go around it. You'll want to take that down, and then inside you'll see your 2 drum switches. The one on the left is for your forward reverse, the one on the right is for your up down. And what happens is oftentimes these contacts will start to not function properly, and it's as simple as putting a little bit of grease in there and it will get working again. Now usually, if you have a newer Wood-Mizer, you'll see a little round can, it's about yay big, that sits somewhere inside the control box that will be the grease that you need for this. Of course, mine is an older machine, so I don't have that in it, which is why I'm using the bulb grease. And all you want to do is, where it makes contact, which should be here on the back, and then, well actually this is the back, and then this would be the front one, and you want to put the grease on those positions right there on the drum switch, and then that will keep it running for many years. So let's put some of that on there. Doesn't take very much. And you probably want to check and inspect this, you know, every couple months, or if you start feeling like it's getting a little bit finicky or not as loose as it should be, then you'll want to do it again, obviously. So, and that actually feels much better even already. So there's that one. Let's do the other one. So there's your up and there's your down. So it's primarily contacting these areas right here and then the side right there. What it's doing, it's making positive negative connection. It tells it to go up or down. You'll see what I'm doing here. I'm sort of locking the switch up and down. Now you don't want to do that all the time because it over travels it and can wear it out, but for the purposes of just greasing this once, it's really not going to hurt it. And so you saw me moving that back and forth, and it may seem like a simple thing, just putting a little bit of grease on there. But boy, does it make a difference, even in the way that it feels in the switch. It feels just a lot smoother, you know. I've heard that grease is known to do that. And that's about it. You just want to take your control panel then, put it back on, get the 8 screws on all the way around it, and you're good to go with your drum switches for several months. The second thing that I'm going to try to fix on this machine is this solenoid right here. And this applies to the diesel engine only for turning these things off. I have a Kubota diesel. It's the 33 V1505 model, and but it'll work on pretty much any diesel engine. They're all pretty similar as far as this goes, from what I understand anyhow. And this is a shut-off solenoid. What it does is this pin will come in when you turn the switch to engage the engine, and when you go to turn it off, it pops it back out. And this was not working on my mill when I got it. I'll show you the old one. So there's the old one, and from the outside you can't tell that it doesn't work, but it doesn't work. And this is the old connection. This was very broken and corroded, the plastic on it, and this was actually a 3-wire. You can see the 3 wires right here, and the new one is a 2-wire. And the reason for that is the new one, instead of grounding through a wire to the chassis, now grounds through the solenoid itself when you screw it into the machine. And so let me show you a look real quick of exactly what this solenoid does. Okay, so I have the solenoid grounded to the machine here, and I'm going to show you when I turn the engine on just how this solenoid functions. What you want to look for is this pin right here is going to go in as soon as I try to start the machine. And then when I turn off the machine, there it goes back out. So one more time. And there you have it. So that's how I know this solenoid is working. I've been trying to find a good angle to show you where this goes, and I'm standing behind the camera, but I'm going to zoom in here, and you can see right there is where that solenoid is supposed to go. So it's kind of behind the radiator area, if you think of it that way, and tucked in there behind the engine. One other thing that I had to do was to figure out what size bolts went in here. The bolts were missing on the engine. And my first thought, of course, when a bolt is missing is, oh my gosh, did someone break it off in there and now I have to drill and tap it out? And thankfully that didn't happen in this case. But I had no idea what screw was in there. I tried 2 or 3 different ones in my shop. So I called Kubota, and they had, of course, in their diagrams what it was. And what it is, it's a M6 or a 6mm bolt 6x12, I believe, that goes in here. And that's all it takes to put that in. So let's go ahead and do it. Had to change to my smaller wrench here because, well, it might actually be the socket is too long, but maybe I'll get away with it this time. Looks like I am. So these are 10mm heads on here. Of course, that is the one that if you had 100 of them, you can't find any of them in your shop, you know. Golly, this is a tough spot. We're in a tough spot. That's an obscure movie reference from the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Yeah, see, that one back there is just very tough to get to. So that 6mm bolt with the 10mm head that is behind that shutoff solenoid was really a pain to get to. I'll tell you what I ended up having to do. I had a 10mm socket with a 1/4" shaft that I attached to my 1/4" extension, which attached to a 1/4" to 3/8 adapter, which attached to my 3/8 extension, which attached to my 3/8 drive. So then what I did is I had to basically put this on first and get it on there, and then wiggle that on, and then tighten it from there. And that's the sort of things that we have to do to put parts on machines sometimes. This is why I say I much prefer to be a woodworker than a mechanic. But you know what they say, where there's a will, there's always some guy that's willing to spend inordinate amounts of time and money to get it done. Alright, all I'm going to do is turn the machine on, let it run for a couple minutes, and then turn it off and make sure that it does in fact turn off. If you remember before, what I would have to do is to get up in here, and now this wasn't me that had it like this, I got this machine used if you haven't seen the previous videos. But what I would have to do is get up in there and poke it with a flathead screwdriver to turn it off in the spot, and that's what that solenoid does, is pokes that little spot to turn off the engine. Let's turn it on and we'll see if it turns off, and we'll see if this solenoid installation is successful. Well guys, that about sums it up for this one. So what I showed you in this video was how to grease the contacts inside the drum switches and replace the fuel shutoff solenoid for the diesel engine. I've got a lot of things that I have to do to this machine still to get it perfect and running 100%. And so I have some more parts coming. I'm going to be doing a few videos like this. You know, these are really more for that guy that is going to hopefully find something really obscure that he's not going to find somewhere else. And so this will be the kind of video where like 10 years from now somebody says, oh man, I'm so glad that I found that video. That just totally saved me. And if it does that, great. But there's going to be a few more videos like this of me just doing random things on the machine, and perhaps some of you all have machines that need some of the same work and you are wondering how to do it. If so, keep watching. The titles will be clear and the descriptions will be clear what I'm doing in these videos. So if you search for it, you should be able to find it pretty easy. Alright guys, take care. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you very much. Take care.